It's time for the finals of this ESL Open Cup Korea number 100, guys. Been gone for a little bit of a while, huh? And we couldn't have more than this matchup between these two incredible players, Akontistes. And here, on Glittering Ashes, bottom left hand corner, the blue Zerg is currently spawning from Dragon Phoenix Gaming. It is Dark. His opponent in the red, his own teammate from Dragon Phoenix Gaming himself. It's the Red Terran instead. It is Cure. Alright. Love to see these matchups between teammates, since you kind of have to be unpredictable to surprise a player you've seen play so many times, you've screamed against so many times. These two players probably know each other like an open book. And honestly, it makes for some beautiful games most of the times. Even though this isn't really the matchup in which you can be that unpredictable, it's still Zerg vs Terran, right? There's like some things you kind of have to do every single time. But I'm very curious to see who's gonna shift things a little bit to the side, try to be sneaky with some build orders, something a little bit different. It's gonna be a long series, it's a best of 5. Lots of room to try and be unpredictable. But for now, both players are gonna be very standard in their openings, with an Ashgas pool against a Reaper expand. And you see the Reaper already making its way. Some players are starting to prefer the double Marine opener to avoid being scouted by the Overlord. Be a little bit more defensive as well. The Reaper still makes for a fine choice, especially against things like 16 pool, which is not what we have here from Dark. That's still a lot of lanes though. You don't usually see the 6 lanes, but Dark wants to be extra careful and be sure to take his bird right when he wants it. The Creep Tumor is actually going to be sniped by Cure. Gonna slow down Dark a little bit, and connecting these two bases can be useful once the Hellions come in. If it's going to be Hellions, but yeah, I'm fairly positive it is. So Dark will need to work extra hard to connect these two bases. Second Crypt Tumor will not be sniped. This time the Lings will be in position to deflect the harassment from the Reaper, which already gained quite a lot of value. Like, sniping a Crypt Tumor is actually, at this level, is quite possibly the best a Reaper can do. And now with 2 queens out, Dark is going to be focusing in connecting these two bases. That's a very early lair, by the way. Whoa. I don't necessarily think this is a bad idea. But of course, you need to be extra careful in the early stages of the game. It's a Banshee opening from Cure, trying to harass a little bit with Cloak as well. So having an early Overseer is going to be very useful against this. Even without scouting, Dark's gain sense and of course knowledge of his opponent will pay off over here. And not going to need Spore Coolers necessarily. He's still going to make those because they're gonna buy you time for the Queens to get there and the Overseer to get there. So Dark trying to minimize the losses. And oh wow. Well, yeah, that's not for minimizing losses, guys. That's for a lot of Lings and Queens to get in Dark space with an Overlord hidden over here. Oh yes, I do love this. I do love this. Here, you can see the vision he has. He doesn't cover this small corner over here and this other one. So these can be extremely deadly, since the Overlord is exactly covering both those spots. Dark definitely did his homework here. Nidus network is up. It's time for the worm, and Cure doesn't have vision of this. Beautiful play on the side of Dark. The Banshee trying to do its best, but Banshee is not exactly the best defensive unit against a lot of lanes. And now time for the scream of the Nidus Worm. Lots of Queens already dropping down Crypt Tumors in a base of Cure. There's going to be Marines, there's going to be Banshees, but this is still going to be a lot of dead workers and units on the side of Cure. Another Nidus Worm is going up. The Overseer getting over here to kill the Banshee. The Queens are just not dying, transfusing each other back to full health. And you know what? That's already critical damage being dealt to Cure. 20 workers going down. Finally, the Hellions come in, but the lanes have already been dealt with. And now it's just the Queens, and Hellions don't kill those quickly enough. Lots of lanes still streaming inside the Nidus network, ready to be ejected from these Worm over here. Dark trying to focusing down the production of his opponent. This Worm is going to go down, but there's another there, ready to drop out. And the Nidus Worm in the back of the base, still pumping out units. More and more units are going to be ejected from this one. The lane's almost instantly dying, but giving much more than enough time for these Queens to deal with whatever else is going on. Cure will deflect this, but the price paid was immensely high. Just 3 workers left standing for Cure, and he most definitely doesn't have the resources to go for well, the units to go for a counter-attack. Dark will be content with it. He said, yeah, I killed all of your workers. Let me drop down double Evo Chambers and just try to macro it up for now. I got such a huge advantage. And honestly, I don't think Cure can do much more than this. He's just gonna top out very soon. Lots of links streaming, not from a Nidus network this time. The Hellions are off position. And yeah, this is a GG time in Dark gets game number 1. So guys, I was talking about changing stuff a little in a matchup against a player you know very well. And this guy over here in the bottom right hand corner did it marvelously, getting a very quick first win in game number 1 with a Nidus network play. He's ready to take 2 in a row. Can he do it? It is Dragon Phoenix Gaming Dark. His opponent caught with his pants down. He doesn't want to allow that to happen again. Can he tie up the score? It is Dragon Phoenix Gaming Cure. A quick look at the openers. Again, it's looking like a Hashgas pool on the side of Dark. Which again, as you've seen in the first game, doesn't necessarily mean that this player is going to play defensively. That was a very aggressive play and it really paid off. On the side of Cure, I'm a little bit more curious about the first unit. He got the Crypt Tumor early on, which didn't make a difference because of what was going on with Dark's build order. But it can make a difference in some other games. Again, going to be Reaper Expand from Cure. And on Blackburn, it's a little bit different than Glittering Ashes. You cannot really sneak things in that easily. It's a very defensive map in its layout. And the only risk you can take early on is the Golden Base, which can either pay off immensely or just kind of set you back by a huge margin. It's very hard to defend that position once stuff can get over here and around, of course. Here trying to get a timing for Dark's third expansion, and yeah, he's actually going to actively try to stop it. Yes, if he stops the drone from getting extractor, it's going to be a snap drone And we see yet no queens. A couple of links trying to make their way through the mob. They're gonna be caught in the open by the Reaper, who's actually forced to chase them down, giving Doc enough time to get his third base. Doc's really with a 200 IQ play over here. Very small things can usually go a very long way in strategy games like StarCraft. And yeah, the Reaper will not get in the main base. Dark already has one queen waiting for that. And the Pretty Teamer goes down. Doc recovering from the early delay of his third base. So what is going up for Cure instead? We see a Tech Lab next to the Rex. And honestly, I think it's for Banshees again. I doubt this is going to be some kind of early Steam play. There's really not too much threat on Cure to go for these kind of things. Banshees can always make a difference. So we see the Rex switching with these starport already. What, Viking first? This is not surprising considering what has happened in the first game. Sniping a couple overlords can be very crucial, and I often say this, but once in a long series such as a best of 5, once one of the two players goes for some kind of aggressive strategy, even if it doesn't work out, the other player needs to be extra careful around it, because there's always the threat that it's going to happen again. So the Viking first on the side of Cure is of course a very good choice to stop any kind of early aggression coming from Dark in the form of 90s networks, of course. The Vikings can still get a lot of vision, can still deny a lot of vision. And with a Banshee play behind it, it's never a bad choice. It's going to be slightly delayed, but a Banshee just doesn't care enough about defenses. It's always gonna snipe a couple drones here and there. There's always going to be spore callers up in time. There's always going to be queens in the good position to kill those. But Banshees just kill workers way too fast. There's going to be a lot of roaches incoming from Dark. This is definitely not on a lean. You see the lair going up behind this. A lot of drones stealing the production. Dark is trying to be aggressive, but he's not really committing into this. The Banshee, of course, is going to be completely deflecting this alone. Roaches can really not... Oh, those were some fine Ravager Biles, by the way. Of course, Dark has slowed down the Banshee play from Cure as well. The spore colors are already out, but it's of course up to the Banshees, to the Queens and the Overseers that are soon to pop out to be actively trying to kill the Banshee. The spore colors are there just to buy some time for the rest of the army of Dark to get there. Dark taking his golden base and of course breaking down the rocks to defend it a little bit easily compared to these rocks being up. +1 melee, +1 carapace against +1 infantry, weapons and armor. So Curie is actively trying to stop this base from going up. He's going to snap down one Ravager, he's going to be content with it and he's going to move back. There's one Viking over here to catch anything moving from the top side of the base of Dark. And that's an early infestation bait, by the way. Where's this? Oh, right. It's just a macro hutch, of course. And we're going up on the side of Cure. Both players playing very cautiously around each other, trying to tech up as fast as possible. This infestation page is as early as you can get it. The Bane Nest instead is going to be slightly delayed. And yes, it's a very fast dive. This is honestly almost as fast as you can get it. We've seen Dark in both games trying to get his stack as fast as possible. Even the Roaches are out here just to buy him some time to get to the later stages of the game by skipping a lot of corners. Banelane speed is going to be researched, but it's going to be useful only after Hive Tech is up. We don't see Dark pumping out a lot of lanes yet. And this economy is honestly looking amazing. With a macro hatch behind this, as soon as he gets a 5th base, his larva production is going to absolutely explode. With these many workers out, the Hellions of course are going to try to snipe a couple of those, especially in the golden base. 5th base going up for Dark. Cure just not placing enough pressure on the shoulders of Dark. He's now going to kill almost all of the aliens with his roaches, which are again not a huge expense on his side. Then she's trying to get even more drones in his golden base, buying a little bit of time for Cure to get his later tech as well. But Dark has been lining fast with it. Adrenal Glands and 2 Vipers already in the production tab. With the Overseers out, these Banshees are not in the best spots. One of the Banshees immediately goes down to just the 2 Queens. And now lots of crit tumors to connect these bases. Oh, as you can see, the production is kind of starting to get a little bit nutty on the side of Cure, on the side of Dark. With 6 overloads up, he's going to be able to max out in the blink of an eye. And these roaches are going to be traded aggressively before Dark gets to the spot, I think. Especially with the upgrades he has behind these roaches are... honestly, they've done much more than enough. A little bit of a weird steam from Cure just to avoid being caught by Banelings in the middle. Which is definitely not going to happen. Ultra Cavern going up on the side of Dark. Cure needs to deal significant damage with these because the tech of Dark is honestly just insane at this stage of the game. He's soon to get +3/+3 immediately as his other upgrades finish, which are going to put him on par on upgrades as Cure lets a lot of Marines though. The Banelings rolling down, and with the Vipers surprising Cure with a blinding clouds. The army of Cure is just going to be absolutely melted. Meanwhile, in the main base though, is this upgrade going to be denied? No, it's not. There's just one backing out. The Queen trying to get there before they can snap down the Vipers. More units are incoming from Cure, but as I've been saying before, the production of Dark was ready to absolutely explode, losing almost all of its army and is back to 200 supply. Lots of links ready to scream out. They have Adrenal Glands and going to kill these units incredibly fast. And now it's time for the Parasitic Bomb to go on top of the Medivacs as well. Beautiful defense from Dark, and Cure again, he didn't deal even remotely enough damage to Dark throughout this whole game. And the Zerg is ready to take over. Lots of Banelings in production. Cure trying to sneak a couple of Medivacs on the top side to deal some counter damage to the attack that is coming from Dark, but Dark just wants to end this game right here, right now. Ultras are out as well. And you know what Ultras do, they close out games. They're the win more unit. And honestly, Dark is in a very decent spot over here. He's not really caring about these Liberators at all. With his Vipers behind this, he's ready to drop down all he needs. Blinding Clouds for a city bomb? Whatever, man. Dark has it for you. These Medivacs can no longer heal anything because there's nothing to heal anymore. GG gets gold. Dark, he's at match point. I don't think we're gonna see anything crazy coming from Dark this time as well. He's shown us you can win with a cheeky aggressive early play with Nidus. He can show us, he has shown us that he can win with cutting as many corners as possible to get to the late game lining fast. What is gonna try to show us in this third game? Since he seems quite unbeatable in this series so far, and Cure definitely needs to put much more pressure than he has done in the previous 2 games, because honestly, it hasn't looked very close so far. Again, it's a Reaper expand against a large gas pool. This time, Cure is not going to try and stop Dark from getting his prey base. Dark is playing a dangerous game with his lanes, but so is Cure with his Reaper. In the end, the Reaper is just way too slippery. It's still 6 lanes, so Dark would put a lot of pressure onto the Reaper. The grenade was perfect. Otherwise, that would have been a dead Reaper, and that means absolutely 0 scouting power for a long time. We see again the Roach Warren. It worked out plenty in favor of Dark in game 2, so why not try to do that again? Seems like a good choice, and Cure is going to persist with his Banshee play, which didn't work out at all in the previous 2 games. He kind of stopped the play out of Dark with his early Roach aggression, but that was only meant to buy time, so that wasn't like the hugest victory. It was something, yes, but in the end, all it did was just kind of reset the default both players' attempt of aggression, and that always works out in favor of the Zer player, because you know what they say, you need to put pressure on a Zer player, otherwise it's just gonna outgrow you so fast you can't even realize it. And that's exactly what Dark has done in game 2. So we want Cure to be more aggressive, to put much more pressure on his opponent. And Dark, honestly, he's not been producing a lot of drones. He's kind of producing more roaches than the previous game. Oh, these aliens are in a bad spot. But the Banshee is out, so these roaches are soon to be either dead or just retreating. Yeah, you see the Banshee just kind of trying to lure them in, and it's gonna be a long distance before these roaches get back home. So yeah, the Banshee's gonna snipe a couple of those. Meanwhile, Dark getting a lair. This time, much more of a standard timing. An Overseer out, the Banshee's cloaked. He's trying to get in a mineral line. There's already a Spore Cooler in production over there, but there's still going to be a couple dead drones. Or just one. Roach is protecting the Spore Coolers. There's not gonna be Hellions incoming. There's no connecting spores though, and there's no Overseer out yet. Oh, the Banshee is trying to get a very risky position, but in the end, Dark doesn't really have enough to protect his connections between his spaces, and he's going to lose 5 drones. That was much more damage than we've seen Cure deal in any of these other games. And he's also going to come back in over here. These Banshees are not even cloaked, and they're just gonna snipe 3 more drones. It's going to be 8 total drones down. And that's decent. Dark still has 65 workers, but he can no longer cut as many corners as he did in game number 2. He's lost something and he needs to be careful. And this time, Infestation Pit, Ajalist 10 and ranged upgrades are down for some lurker play on the side of Dark. Mixing stuff up, playing very differently in all 3 games. And let's see if Cure is prepared for this. Upgrades for the roaches as well. Lion Reconstitution to help them put up a fight before the lurkers come online. Oh, it's Infestors as well. Like Fungal Growth, plus Ravager Biles, and lurkers. It's always very deadly. Microbial Shroud is going to be almost completely useless in this matchup. It is an ability meant for another matchup. little bit of a drop in the main. Dark was prepared for this. He has some units over here. Ready to buy some time. The Sprockler in the top is going to be killed, but the roaches are getting there. These roaches do not have upgrades, yet all the investors in middle is died. Oh my goodness, this is dealing some damage. Here, finally being the proactive player we were waiting for this whole series. And he's gonna grant himself a little bit of a supply advantage. Soon to be an upgrade advantage as well, but the tech, oh man, the tech that Dark is preparing, it's going to be very hard to deal with. Lurkers are just insanely hard to deal for a Terran player, and there's no Widow Mines being thrown in the mix to stop the advance of Lings and Roaches. There's no tank to counter the Lurkers. Just going to be, oh yeah, there's going to be a couple tanks, but it gotta be a lot of tanks. Let's all be honest here. Lurkers are bulky. Tanks are not. The bench is still alive, trying to get a little bit more pressure. Trying to kill a couple more workers, maybe a couple queens. Dark's quick expand is going to be slightly delayed by Cure on multiple locations, especially on this side. There's not a lot of creep. Dark is expanding on the top left for this reason, but the benches are there to stop him from freely expanding. And Cure is preparing kind of a huge army already. There's going to be Vipers out, a couple Lurkers as well. So it's not going to be easy for Cure to actually deal damage with this, but it's still going to be a much more powerful army than what Dark has right now. You can see, guys, no Baneling Nest. It's going to be very difficult for Dark to deal with the Marines before there are a lot of Lurkers. Splash damage is the most important thing in this matchup, and without Banelings, Lurkers need to be on critical mass to actually deal with this kind of army. We see a Nidus Worm. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Nidus Network, sorry. To try and move the army around a little bit faster, to react in multiple spots at once. Now with +2/+2, Dark is getting what he needs actually. How many Lurkers does he have right now? It's going to be 6. It's not critical mass, but it's a good amount. Seismic Spines completed just now. These Lurkers are gonna have a lot of range. Now the Lean's trying to chase down Marines onto a lot of tanks. This is of course only a distraction for the Nidus Worm to go up in the main. It's going to be actually seen by Curious and moving a lot of his own army. The Lurkers go down, burrowing in the main base on top of the whole production of Cure. It's going to be dead workers, it's going to be dead Marines, it's going to be dead wrecks in production all over. The Vipers are incoming, dropping down perceived bombs on top of the Medivacs. The Lurkers are in a little bit of a weird spot, but there's so many Lings streaming in. These tanks are going to find themselves surrounded in a little while. The Marines hiding behind those. Meanwhile, the Lurkers going rampage in the main base of Cure. Beautiful, beautiful attack from Dark. He's going to be training a lot of his own army for this. Cure can go for a counter-attack at this stage. Lots of Lurkers are going to die. The payoff was certainly decent enough for Dark, who's gonna try and stream a lot more units here in the middle. There's tanks waiting for him. These lanes are not getting anywhere close in time. So Dark will decide against committing in that spot. He will just retreat to fight another day. Dark losing a lot of his critical units. Here, losing a lot of his base actually. Especially Ghost production was delayed by such a huge margin. The first few Ghosts were in production, those wrecks were killed. Those Ghosts, actually I think a couple Ghosts died as well. No, they were cancelled by Dark killing those wrecks, but the Ghost economy was killed as well. Now Dark is relentlessly trying to get more damage to stop these Ghosts from getting online. Nukes can be deadly in the right hands, and of course these knights are something Dark needs to play around. There's a planetary fortress over here. It's not going to be easy to deflect this beautiful yoink on top of the tanks. It's going to put them out of position, and the lurkers can just freely get kills, but now the liberators are out. And there's just not enough hydras to counter those. Oh, one of the lurkers is gonna be caught outside of the range of those liberators. Well, inside the range of those liberators, of course. There's a Spire transition for Dark. Getting his +3/+3, this is kind of curious. Of course, he needs the Corruptors to deal with the Liberators, but he needs to be careful not to overdo on the Corruptors, which is not going to be easy. Another Nidus Worm is trying to go up in the main, but there's a tank ready to kill it. It's going to be cancelled, of course. The Rex over here is going to be corrupted. But it's a very minor win on the side of Dark, trying to kill down these rocks, of course, to allow his reinforcements to get there easily. This one sensor tower doing wonders for Cure, always prepared to fight against Dark in this location, but so much of the map is now in control of the Zerg player. A Nidus Worm going up in the bottom right hand corner. And Cure is going to be trying and scout exactly there. He knows the army of Dark tried to move on that spot, so he's going to spare a couple marines to kill this Nidus Worm. Spire going up, as well as the Ultra Cavern halfway through with +2 melee actually being upgraded. And now Dark needs to trade a little bit of his own army to start producing a couple Corruptors. Greater Spire as well. Rulers can be a deadly transition. Cure dropping over here to try and kill a couple of drones, trying to even snack down the base. These reinforcements, so of course I'm talking about Dark, are not getting there in time to save this archer, which is going to be sniped. He's going to be reset Dark on how many bases is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, Dark. You do you, buddy. Shockwave EMP actually for the Vipers and Infestors, of course, coming from these ghosts in a very deadly spot over here, ready to snap down some key units if Dark decides to try and strike from the low ground. Dark is playing very careful around everything that Cure is kind of getting. Lots of snipes going. Oh wow, that lurker was down for. Ooh. Neuroparasite. Dark is getting a lot of crazy upgrades. Second Spire to get the double upgrades going for his Spires, for his air units. Going to start off with +1 air attack, which is going to be much needed against those Liberators once the Corruptors come online. Dark still refusing to go into an air transition so far. We see lots of Banelings and Hydras instead being the call from the Zerg player. How many lurkers are out right now? 0. Oh no, actually 4. Yeah, 4. A little bit spread around as well. A couple of roaches over here. Cure has gained control of his own side of the map, but he's still going to be 5 bases against 9. It's not going to be easy for Cure to outgrind his opponent. Not at all. There's going to be a couple fights that need to go immensely in favor of Cure before he can regain some control of the middle ground, which is covered in creep and in Zerg's army. 8 more Infestors incoming as well. We don't see as many Vipers, which are usually the go-to against Liberators. I'm very curious to see what these Infestors are going to do. Of course, Neuroparasiting those Liberators can be extremely scary, but getting close to them with so many ghosts with Shockwave EMP is absolutely insane. It's going to be so hard. Oh my god, the Banelings rolling through, trying to get on top of the Ghosts, but the Ghosts are just way too sneaky. Hiding behind so many tanks. This wasn't a great fight from Dark, but he can replenish his forces so quickly. And again, as I was saying before, he was just looking to trade something up to get a much more deadly army. With Corruptors in the air and of course Broodlords soon to come. The Ghosts are the go-to unit to counter everything late game from the Zerg player, but they're so difficult to defend. And Broodlords make their job as hard as possible. With so many little units getting everywhere in the army of Cure. Of course, talking about the Broodlings, it's 12 Broodlords. It's Infestors Broodlords all over again. Because why not? Of course, nukes going to be used to gain control of middle ground. These Spine Crawlers are actually buying Dark a lot of time to get in position. Now that Broodlords are out, actually is not good. Oh my goodness, Dark, you avoided a disaster by a millimeter. Oh, so many Broodlords, they're going to be sniped down by the Ghosts, but so many Ghosts are dying. The fungo is nuts from Dark, and the Banelings rolling on top of the Ghosts. So many Ghosts dying. They don't have a lot of health, guys. They're going to be killed almost immediately by these Broodlords if they get caught, and Dark gets a deadly push. Not even using the Neural Parasite, just dropping down fungals left and right and catching so many Ghosts out in the wild. 58 Lings in production, 1 nuke has been made by Cure, trying to maybe nuke down these Broodlords and Infestors, which are going to move the heck out of there. A couple Spore Crawlers are going to be caught by these, I think. Oh, maybe just the one, just barely. Ooh, no, they were out of range. 5 drones dying somewhere. Oh, and the march of the Spores continues. 6 drones actually over here. This Liberator doing some work, but he's going to be killed by another Spore Crawler. It's going to be 9 tank workers. That's significant. But of course, Dark is such an insane tank in minerals and gas that you can replace these workers with more units and be very happy with it. Still has 90 workers, which is honestly at this stage probably even more than what you want. They're soon to be turned into Spore Crawlers, I think. These Broodlords trying to get on top of this planetary fortress. One of the Orbiter Command is burning down. Oh, Infestors, what will they do right now? The Corruptors trying to get on top of both the Liberators and the Vikings to save these Broodlords, but the Taurs are dealing insane damage, and the Neural was nowhere close enough. The beautiful fungal is going to cut so many Ghosts out in the blind. It was a horrendous spot to be. The fungal doesn't allow them to get the snipe. Blinded by the green goo. They're not gonna kill anything, and they're going to be traded for free by Dark. Oh my goodness, that's a million Banelings. Now the Infestors burrowing down into the ground, ready to sneak in a couple Neuroparasite on top of these stores. The Broodlords trying to defend from these. Oh, here comes our huge roll of Banelings, the A move with the Infestors neuraling all of the Taurs. Oh my goodness, Dark, you've done this again. Banelings are just rolling through and through. The EMP getting on top of the Infestors, but it's already too late. The Taurs have dealt so much damage to Cure himself, and the series goes to Dark.